welcome to the Content Machine Podcast. This is our first ever guest, Cannon Johnson. Cannon, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Cannon and I met years ago and co-starters at the Co. And since then, both of our businesses grown, but I think yours has grown a little bit more than mine has.
We're Wiley Parker homeboys.
That's right. Way back in the day. Tell us about Jackson Fencing Company. Or Jackson Fence Company, sorry.
Just put me on the spot here, man. So, in a nutshell, Kevin, we have a belief that your backyard and people spend more money. Like the largest investment that people make in their lifetime is generally a home. And we want people to enjoy and feel safe and protected in their own space. And so what we're trying to do, Kevin, is build fences that truly make people's backyards their own escape, their own vacation, their own getaway. So we build fence, I guess, is a short answer to that. But we also we think that we build the best fence. We think we often say your backyard deserves the best. That's our little tagline. So we're building fence, but we're taking this thing to a whole nother level. We're traveling the country looking for the best methods, the best techniques, the best people, and really just not copying what the guy down the road is doing or what West Tennessee's been exposed to for years and years and years. We're looking far and abroad and bringing in new products and all kinds of neat stuff. And on the surface, it's just a fence, right? But we don't see it that way. We see it as something that adds value to your home, protects your family, keeps your dog in the backyard, all that kind of stuff. So,
what's an example of something that you've brought back recently?
Man, so we call those golden nuggets. All right. So anytime we travel and we pick up information, we bring it back, and we try to. Not everything fits. It's not like, hey, we found the circle, let's put it in the circle hole we got, right? So we got to figure out how to make things fit into what we're doing, or we have to do a lot of work behind the scenes to make it fit, But one of the big things that we've recently brought back, more than once, like recently, meaning like the last 3 times that I've left town to go talk to fence people, this keeps getting brought up. It's like, man, this is a clue. The FBI calls that a clue. If people keep telling you, it's a clue. So driving to post. And so what's going on, Kevin, is we're digging holes in people's yards. And digging holes is not fun. I don't know how many holes you've ever done, but it's
not fun.
It's the hardest. It's the hardest thing we do. Even with equipment, it's the hardest thing we do. And we call it owning your hole, because we got to dig the perfect hole. We take pride on digging the deepest, the widest, not just the absolute biggest hole, but the perfect hole. Like it's exactly the size that it's supposed to be, and it's exactly where it's supposed to be. We don't have to shave it. We don't have to move it. We dig it, and bam, we know that post is right there.
You get it right the first time.
That's right. We take pride in trying to do that. But even doing that is hard and it's exhausting. So the newest thing that's coming to the fence industry, and that we're planning on bringing it to the West Tennessee industry, is driving fence post. And so we're hoping the next 2 years we stop digging holes,
like using almost like a hammer and smashing the post into the ground.
Pounding it is what we call it.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and you are clearly passionate about the fence, and we'll talk more about that.
Nuts, bro.
But how did you get started in the fence business?
Man, this is a great story. So I worked for Lowe's Home Improvement. And, I like to say Lowe's Home Improvement because that's what it is. A lot of people just say Lowe's. I'm like, no, the company presidents and the board, they called it Home Improvement. So that's what it is, Lowe's Home Improvement. So there, we began to build fence through Lowe's, the company, back in like 2011. And I worked for Lowe's from 2006 to 2015. Okay. And in that time frame, I became an assistant manager of the stores. And in 2011, Lowe's said, hey, we want to build fences. It wasn't just fences, it was roofs and windows and all this other stuff,
Yeah, all the people they sell stuff to.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. And so we want to compete with all those people, basically, and who are we going to find to help us compete? Well, we're going to find the people that are already doing business with us. And it was really weird, kind of, but Lowe's took on this general contract model of, well, let's sell it, and then we'll find somebody else to install it, And through that process, I kind of became the liaison between the store, the customer, the install sales team, all the different people.
Yeah.
And what I really learned is they said, hey, Ken, we want you to be the liaison. That's the go-between between the salesperson, the install sales team, and the customer and the installer. Well, liaison evidently is just a fancy word for like, hey, we want to put you out in the middle where all the bullets are flying, because the salesperson's going to screw up. And the customer's gonna be mad, and you're gonna be right there between the shots. And then the install sales office is gonna misschedule, and the installer's gonna get upset, or he's not gonna show up when he said he was, and you're gonna be right between the two of those, that gunfight, And so after about 4 years of being in between gunfights, that's a liaison evidently. I was like, I think I can do better, And honestly, like, I'm not a contractor by trade. I'm not a builder by trade. I'm not a handyman or nothing like that. And so when I looked at all these things that we were doing at Lowe's, we built decks, roofs, windows, and fences. Like, I'm man enough to say, Kevin, that I didn't know. I was like, I don't know what's really going on between the wall, So do I want to start a window company? Not really, because I can see the outside of the wall and the inside of the wall, but I'm still not real sure what's going on between the wall. You know what I mean? But I was like, what, that fence thing? I'm dumb enough to dig a big hole, And I can see most of that. I think I understand what's going on here. And so fencing it was.
There you go. That's awesome. And so when was that? When did you start?
This was 2016, September of 16. So we're at 6 years and 4 months ish, 5 months ish.
So 6 years. You went from you to tell us about the company today.
Oh man. So, 6.5 years ago, we sold our first fence. It was this ugly green chain link fence, out in Beach Bluff, Tennessee. Mm-hmm. And, I went to this lady's house and sold this fence, and I couldn't believe it. She bought it on the spot. I was like, wow, And I remember telling the lady, I was like, hey, look, this is going to probably take us 2 weeks to get to your job. You want to sound busy, right? But honestly, when I said 2 weeks, I didn't tell her why. It's just, hey, I don't know the next step myself, but I'll take your deposit check and we'll figure it out. But I need about 2 weeks to get to your job, period,
Pure hustle.
Yeah, man.
I love it.
And so we began to subcontract, just exactly what I learned from my previous employer, sell it and subcontract it. And because I had that previous employer, I already had a lot of connections. I already knew kind of who could do this and who couldn't do this, And so we began to subcontract, and like the first 5 or 6 jobs that we sold, we subcontracted. And then I began to realize, like, they don't know what they're doing. Like, the problem is bigger than what I was seeing in my previous employer. The problem is, like, we really need to bring something better to West Tennessee. This is not just a hustle. This is not just, a way to survive. This is not, this is like, no, there's a real market here and there's a real need. And I think that we can, if we put our hearts and minds to it, we can fulfill that need. And so we said, hey, look, we're going to take over the whole operation, the sales, the ordering, the warehousing, the building, the whole 9 yards. And, to summarize all of that, I said, hey, look, let's build a company that we've always wanted to work for. I'm tired of people lying to me. I'm tired of people being wronged. I'm tired of people being, mediocre and half-hearted and just crappy, making excuses. I hate that stuff, So let's just put it all on paper together. Let's bring in a bunch of people to help us do it, and let's build something that we want to work for as well. And when I say bring in a bunch of people, like, we couldn't afford anybody, so a bunch of people was just me, So I was the sales guy, the builder, and all of that,
So it's not just you anymore, though.
No, we got like 20 people, man. It's nuts. It's
awesome.
Absolutely, like, stupid.
Now, in your world, that really works out to crews, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how many crews do you have going building fences every day?
So every day we run 4.
4 crews?
Yeah, every day. These guys are better. They build fence better than I do. It took a while, but I feel more confident in saying, hey, I'm going to send Corey to your house, Kevin.
Yeah.
I feel more confident in saying, hey, I'm going to let Mike and his team come out there and handle this, because they're going to do a lot better job than I could ever do, But they show up, man, 20 of them every day, 6:30 in the morning, and they fight for me. It don't matter if it's raining, if it's muddy, if it's hot. They show up and they fight. And sometimes we fight internally,
Yeah.
But it's because I always say, hey, we love what we're doing. We all have the same mission, that we want to give the best product that we can possibly give, and the best service, and we want to do it efficiently and all this stuff. And when you got everybody that wants to do the absolute best that they can, well, sometimes you'll have friction, but it's all about love. Just like when you love your wife, sometimes you argue. And if you don't argue with your wife, I say, hey, you're not really in love. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes we have those bro fights. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, we always hug it out, and we always say, man, I love you, and I appreciate you bringing that to the table. And salespeople, we got my wife. by far outsells me in fence. And then we got another guy who works with us, Brian, by far outsells me. They have patience, they have charisma, they're smart, they're good looking, they're on time. I'm the guy who used to tell me to be here at 2:00 to a freaking podcast, and I'm walking in at 2:06. Like, hey, where's Kevin at? I'm late. I'm not the guy. Yeah. I've had to learn, like, I don't really know what my role is, Kevin, but I can hype some people up. I think that might be my role, man.
Just hype people up.
Yeah.
Professional hype man. You've told us a lot about the fence industry and kind of some of the struggles, but like what else do we need to know about the fence industry to help us appreciate what Jackson Fence is doing?
Oh, man. I love the fence industry, like a whole lot, like too much probably. It's really not just a job to me. It's a pretty small industry. So I think, I don't know, there's 50 states. I'd say there's probably 500 to 1,000 fence companies in every state, maybe a little bit more, give or take, But it's not a huge industry by no means. It's not like insurance, where there's, 15 different options.
And hit an insurance agent.
Yeah, exactly. It's not church. It's not grocery stores. It's fence, and we cover, bigger areas. We do hard work. We take pride in our work. But I mean, the fence industry as a whole, I'm on this whole mindset of course, I do a podcast. It's called My Fence Life, and it's an industry-facing podcast, so it's not even customer-specific. And in fact, a lot of the times, I hope customers don't see it.
Because you're talking about the real nitty-gritty behind the scenes
we're talking
stuff.
about what's really going on. How do we grow our business? How do we scale it? How do we improve profit margins? Stuff like that. But it's reality. Sometimes we think profit margin is a bad word, but it's not. That's how we survive. That's how I can tell you, hey, I'm going to be here in 10 years to honor my warranty.
Yeah. It's the report card of business.
It is, but that's the stuff we talk about. It's not always glamorous, or it's not always marketing. You know what I mean? But it's fence industry specific, and so. What I've learned is there's a lot of fencing has a pretty low barrier to entry, and that's a big thing. And so if you own a pickup truck, you can go to Lowe's, get a postal digger, a hammer, and a drill, and then hey, next thing you know, you got a fence company.
Putting it in,
yeah, you can compete with me. And so because there's a low barrier to entry, what we also see is there's the fencing industry as a whole is kind of inundated with people who are very talented and good at their craft. Not always, but they need help on, like, okay, so we're building these fences. How do we turn that into a business? And how do we, what's the legal side of this? What's the accounting side of it? How do we bring people in and make this whole thing go, and I've always had a heart for like consulting and coaching and stuff like that. So having a podcast talking to fence people is kind of my outlet to like connect with other people, and not just talk about what I'm doing, but talk about what they're doing. And I learn just as much as I give away, probably way more than I give away, because I'm not that smart. You know what I mean? But I make myself available to people, and they call me and they talk to me and they give me their ideas, and then I take their ideas and I make them a little bit better. I apply them to my business, so.
So the podcast is also a networking tool for you, but like, because you have a passion to see more people be better at fencing.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome.
It's fun too, so just get on the microphone and talk just like this.
Yeah. One of the cool things about the world that I've realized as I've gotten older is like everything is a world unto itself. Like there's a whole universe of fence people that are passionate about fencing, like there is for marketing or football or accounting. Like, I have a styrofoam cup here. There's a whole universe behind the people that make this, right?
That's right.
And most of us never see it.
Nope.
But the more you get into it, the more interesting it gets, I think. I'm a naturally curious person, so I guess that.
There could be a styrofoam cup trade show. I guarantee there's a paper products, disposable paper consumables.
There's probably a podcast for it too, right?
You're probably right.
The second half of our interview with Cannon Johnson will come out in a few weeks. Stay tuned.